Hello, Jan Ole.
Hello, Danny.
Hello, Joep.
Hello, Danny. Hello, Jan Ole. Nah.
That was good.
And what does that mean?
Nah, it's just something like hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right. So this is your catchphrase.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
We
that's
try to force it on people. Yeah.
Nice. I like
It's
it.
the first time we're doing this in English.
Yeah.
So let's see if this carries on through the world or not. We'll see.
Maybe
We'll see.
not.
No, that was already the introduction, right? That
Yeah.
worked. It worked out pretty well.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. This is the first time we're doing this in English, so bear with us if something takes a little longer. It's hard for us all. But it's going to be good. And we have a very special guest today here. His name is Joep Vermolen. Is that right? Because we were discussing Vermolen.
Yeah,
Vermolen.
Vermolen is a lot more common, but with me it's Vermolen. Joep Vermolen.
Joep Vermolen.
Yes.
And is it short for Joseph or something?
Yeah, my one of my birth names is Joseph.
Okay.
I'm actually called Joseph Jacobus.
Joseph.
my Christian name.
Oh, okay. Is the Netherlands, and we might be saying sometimes Holland instead of Netherlands, so bear with us again. We're German, so we learned it that way.
Yeah.
We learned Holland, but we're trying to say Netherlands just to be polite and kind. Like your cat. Oh, here's your cat. You can't see her.
She might interrupt us and cry very
But
loudly.
okay, you can't see her. But cats always,
I love cats.
cats make people
She
laugh.
likes you guys. She's normally really shy, but
Hello.
Maybe she smells my cats.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's good or bad, but let's see.
Oh my God. Anyway, we're here at Toon's house. Can we say that? Is your house or is it a secret? I'm sorry. Okay. No, this happens. It's like a Freudian kind of way of saying something.
Yeah.
It was not, I didn't mean it. I meant we're at Joep's house.
Yes.
Joep Vermolen. I want to say it correctly because you have a certain way of saying it. It's just, it's not the German way like Vermolen. That's
Right.
not it. I want to say it sexy like you do it.
It's,
Can you do it sexy again
I'll
for
do it
me?
sexy. It's Joep Vermolen.
Joep Vermolen. Can you say that?
Joep Vermolen.
Perfect.
Nice.
Hi, Joep Vermolen.
Get high.
That's a lot easier than Russian because my wife is Russian, and every time we go to a birthday from my family, it's meditation for 3 hours because I don't understand a single word.
Yeah.
No. You just sit there and eat. And you hear noises, white noise, and sometimes you understand a word like eat or something, and then it's good because you can relax for 3 hours.
Yeah. Just do your own thing.
Yeah,
Nice.
So we're German, just in case you haven't noticed. And this guy in front of us, he's from the Netherlands.
Yes.
That's the right way to say it, right?
Yes.
And our languages have a lot in common, actually. So sometimes when we watch, I mean, we're going to talk about Toon, of course. I watched that series. Everyone watches that series in Dutch because it's only available in Dutch,
Yeah.
which is, well, maybe something is coming. I don't know if there's any plans of dubbing that stuff. Maybe you can talk about it now.
No, not really.
Okay, but it was interesting. It was the first time I watched a Dutch series ever, I guess, right? Or is there any other Dutch series that we have in Germany?
It really amazes me that people actually watch it, people from other countries.
Yeah.
'Cause I think there's such a barrier to start watching a Dutch show, even though we put a lot of thought into the subtitles because we knew it was going to go to several countries. So we put a lot of work into that because it's a very specific style. There's a lot of mumbling. There's a lot of, I don't know, wordplay. And so it was difficult to subtitle, but we had a great person working on that. But it amazes me that when I hear people like you or people from other countries who just watch the whole show, I think I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I don't sit. I don't watch any German shows.
You don't?
Did you watch
There's
Dark?
so much great.
Which one?
Dark, for example, on Netflix.
I heard about. I want to watch that.
It's
Yeah.
a really good
That's
show.
But it's
I
also
think
dubbed. It's dubbed. There's
Also
an English version of it. Yeah.
Maybe a Dutch version also. I don't know. But
Can you choose to watch the original?
yeah, sure.
I would always choose that with subtitles.
Yeah.
You can watch it in German with at least English subtitles. I don't know if you can choose Dutch subtitles, but at least English, and it's really good. It's really good. The Germans hate it, because we hate our culture. The Germans hate the cultural products that come out of it. But the Americans love the show, for example, are British, and we also in German it's a bit like, oh, that's too German.
Right.
The acting is too German, too theatrical or something. But I think it's a great show, great series, and great topic also. It's pretty, I say it. You have to really watch it. You can make breakfast to it.
That's an interesting topic that you're coming to it. You're saying you have to watch a series to understand it. Well, from I mean, we can say that we're like in our 30s, kind of, and he's becoming a 30-ish person.
Yes.
And I think we still grew up with actually sitting in front of a TV and watching that stuff, like with our eyes and with our ears and being there.
Yeah.
And a lot of younger people are doing this as for example, they're watching that series and they're eating at the same time. I mean,
yes,
you do that too, right? You're watching series?
No, really.
Do you do that, or do you?
I do it when I rewatch. I rewatch a lot. I rewatch like an insane person.
Yeah.
So I can have. There are shows that I've maybe seen like 10 times, but I just put them on like music almost, so they can be on in the background. Yeah. But when I watch something new, I try to sort of turn off the phone, not have too many screens at the same time. Yeah. So I make an effort to do that. Because but I know of it. But
would you want people to watch Toon while they're eating?
Well,
would that work even?
We actually found that it doesn't really.
Yeah,
we had some. One of the people we were working with sort of told us this, that they were showing the show to a couple of housemates, and they were watching it while they were eating and sort of chatting. Yeah. And he just saw, he knew the episode intimately, and he just saw like, okay, but now they're missing this, so they won't get that and that. Yeah. So I think when you're creating a show, you probably have that option. You have a decision, like, are we going to make something that's also works when you're not 100% engaged all the time. Yeah. But I think we accidentally made something that you kind of have to engage to really follow it. I think I don't know. I can never watch the show as an audience member, so it would be interesting to hear from someone who just watches with like half an eye whether it works. But I feel like it doesn't. I feel like we did some really subtle stuff. Sometimes we were a little bit too subtle. Like our editor told us, like, what's going on in this scene? And we thought the scene worked. And she said, what's actually happening? We said, what do you mean it's happening? She's thinking about this and she's making a decision and you see it changing in her eyes. It's like, I don't see anything.
There are a lot of details in the show which I really like. Some mimics or something. But you have to concentrate on it to see the full comedic potential in the comedy in it.
Is there any
but also we are German, so we have to concentrate on it because we otherwise wouldn't understand a single word.
Yeah, of course.
Is there any person in the world that reads a book while doing something else?
That's a good one. Maybe while listening to music or something?
Yeah.
I think that's different.
Can actually be enhancing for something, right?
Yeah, I think you're totally.
And then you're listening to some Blind Guardian or something.
I mean, a lot of people read a book while sitting on the toilet. So
that's multitasking.
I don't know if you have it in here, but I guess we say Klolektüre.
Yeah,
so books that you only read.
Toilet literature.
Yeah, that you only read on the toilet, like joke books or something.
Right.
That you page through when you're sitting on the toilet. So that's a real genre.
Yeah, but is it an insult to a writer if you say, I really like it?
I don't think so, because I think it's for a writer it could be good because you have a connection to the book every time you go to the toilet. So that has to be important to you, I guess, because it's something different when you read it in bed in the evening. So like 5 pages or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you consider Toon Netflix series that you watch while you're sitting on the toilet?
It's interesting. I wonder if people do that. See, I never watch shows on my phone. I've never done that, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
possibly.
Interesting. Yeah. I hope not. I
saw a guy yesterday in the McDonald's that watched a series on his phone while eating a burger with headphones on.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
and I
it's
thought
kind of sad. It was kind of sad.
It's kind of
very
an
isolated
idiocracy,
person. But
the movie.
Yeah, but some people are like that, and I think it's for a lot of people the modern way of consuming art, because you consider yourself an artist, I guess. Because you come from a musical, we talked about that. You come from a musical background, and you're into Sigur Rós and Radiohead, and that is still considered like very artsy kind of music.
Right? Yeah,
I love that too. That stuff back in the days, and
there's not a lot of humor in the music that I like. It's very dark.
You have to look for it.
Yeah, I can't be the DJ at a house party. My friends, it's when they tell me, put some music on, and 2 minutes in, they're like cutting their throat. And it's like, no, please.
Could be fun. I guess.
Yeah.
If everyone's cutting.
But it's interesting. There's actually music scenes that are like the Gothic scene, for example. They listen to Depeche Mode on the dance floor.
Right.
I mean, old people do that too. But I don't know. It's not very uplifting and party music, but still. But I like that too. Is Toon a melancholic character, or is it more tragically melancholic, or does he choose to be melancholic, or you can go on and on with the list, but who's responsible for poor Toon to be the way he is, or is he not poor?
It's a good question.
I know. I know.
I feel like that's kind of the eye of the beholder in a way. I didn't think about it in those terms. I think when I was playing Toon, a lot of times it depended on what the scene asked for, but I tried to play it kind of straight. Like just how life is. Yeah. Like sometimes life is funny, or sometimes somebody says something stupid, and you just want to look for someone to share it with, and that's when you see a bit of the humor that Toon has. But a lot of time, Toon is just in pain a lot.
Yeah. We got the question from one of our listeners: how much Toon is you, or the other way around? Right.
Yeah, that's become a bit of a muddy thing for me. I think there's a very clear difference. I don't think I'm. It's interesting. Some of my friends saw Toon and they say you're just playing yourself. You're just being yourself. But then I also have friends, and like my mother, she gets upset. She said, "You're nothing like that. You're not that awkward. You're not that." So, I see Toon really as a character, and I know when I'm playing him, I get into a different mode, and I talk different, a little bit different. But I use a lot of my own mannerisms, and I use my own voice. And in the writing, we use a lot of ourselves. So me and Dirk, who wrote the show, and Beer, who directed the show, we use so much from our own lives to write these scripts, to come up with these scripts, which Dirk then writes. So there's a lot of us in there. But I like to think that, I think when we started, I was a lot more like Toon than now.
Okay. Yeah.
So
because you develop as a person.
Yeah. Strangely enough, making Toon was the most therapeutic thing I've ever done. Because suddenly, if I were to experience something really awkward, that used to kill me. I used to be so, I could obsess about it for weeks. It would ruin my whole month. And now suddenly we came into this mode where if something awkward happens, I felt this pain, but then I would call Dirk and Beer and I would tell them the story, and they were like, "Oh, we can put that in episode 6."
Interesting that you say that, because we're doing a German podcast. For everyone who doesn't know, we're doing a German podcast. Not you and me. I wish, but it's unfortunate. And the same thing. It's interesting as you say that, but the second you start a podcast with someone, you can talk. Everything that happens becomes a story everything becomes like a benefit for your life.
Yeah.
And you suddenly start to appreciate every moment. Actually, every moment. It's almost like becoming a Buddhist overnight, because you choose to be someone who lives in the moment, because you choose to live it and then do something positive with it, instead of taking it like probably you did before and just living through it and making life hell because you don't want it, because you don't want it. The same with a cat. We don't want it right now, but we have to accept it, and we can make a story out of it and talk about it.
Maybe she has the same opinion. Maybe she watched Toon and want to tell us how she finds it. Maybe that's...
Yeah, we can bring her. We can bring her on.
But did you develop anything through the process of being Toon? Like, did you change something in your life to support that, maybe to become less Toonish and more Joepish? That sounds stupid.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I don't know. It wasn't something conscious, but just the fact that Toon can't, Toon finds almost everything difficult. Like, he's just put in a conversation and he just has 1,000 thoughts of what can go wrong, and he feels so much pressure. And that's really how I felt when we were coming up with it. And I, like in the months before we started shooting Toon, I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of, that word gets used too much, but a lot of panic attacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And was it a diagnosed depression almost?
No, it was just diagnosed as a panic stoornis, a panic disorder.
Yeah, yeah.
And it got so bad. I had a job where I was working in an office, and I was already in talks about like, how are we going to do this? Because you have to leave almost every day in the middle of the day because of your panic attacks. It was really getting really bad. And then the first day of shooting Toon was the first day I had in a long time without a panic attack. And I've never had a serious panic attack after that. And
that's interesting. Yeah.
I really don't understand it. It's really magical for me. So it really cured me, maybe because I got put into a situation that was so scary, because I didn't have any acting experience, and suddenly there was a set, so many people, and people knew I had this panic disorder. So a lot of people were like, okay, maybe he's going to have a panic attack and can't act, and this is not going to work at all, and everybody loses their investment, blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot of pressure on that. And when that kind of started to go okay, I don't know, maybe that did something. Like, I was scared of everything, but then I did the most scary thing in the world almost to me. Yeah. And when I thought that was going well, it was like a weight got lifted. And so I just got a little bit more comfortable with myself. And what also really helped is that we made a lot of fun of me in the show.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, Toon, do we have to do something about the cat? Do you think?
I don't know.
Can I? Should I put?
Should you check on her real quick and see how she's
maybe
doing?
I should give her some food. Maybe
that would be a really good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
that's live. That's live.
One of the coolest things about making Toon is I really learned to laugh at myself, and I was not very good at that.
Laugh at yourself?
Laugh at myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But in like a positive way, like
not a condescending way, like looking down on yourself, but more like accepting. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, we knew that we wanted Toon to have no understanding of clothing whatsoever.
Of clothing?
Of clothing, oh, yeah. And
that jacket, man, the
red one.
I love it. Yeah. I want to have it. Do you still have it? Can you sell it?
I don't. No, I could. Maybe.
I love the picture where you have those two girls, which you can find on Google. With this expression, I really love that.
Yeah.
I posted that on Instagram when we had our viral hit, let's say in December.
Apache,
and
it's a German rapper. Yeah. And I put the song. The Apache, he's a rapper. You don't have to know him, but he's like big right now. He's like 160 million streams for his single, which is a lot for Germany.
Yeah.
Apache 207.
And I put it on top of Wham! Last Christmas, and that was a weird kind of combination. If you know that character, it's weird. And
I saw that, and I didn't understand the German, but I really liked the video editing. Yeah. You kept coming back to George Michael.
And when they have where George Michael looks up and Apache looks up as well, and there's like this homoerotic
thing. Yeah, we felt a bit like Toon because we put it on and nothing happened, and then a big radio station made an article about it. And suddenly it had 30,000 views a day.
Wow.
So and a lot of comments, and we did a radio interview with the station, and we actually felt like Toon in this situation. Yeah,
because it's nothing you can plan, right?
No,
you can't plan that.
No,
but just coming back to that, what you said about laughing. Basically, you were starting to laugh with yourself, right? Was it like a splitting of your personality? Like there's a part that I never accepted, now I start accepting it, and it's fusing, and it's becoming one whole thing. That sounds too religious almost.
Sounds good.
I really mean it.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah, it was like there's a lot of stuff I was really ashamed of. Like the clothing is an example. Like I always felt so bad about not understanding clothing, and I would buy these really neutral things, hoping not to stand out, hoping not to get it wrong. Always this fear of getting stuff wrong. And then we decided Toon shouldn't understand anything about clothing. And I went to the head of our clothing department, and I said I could show you some of my clothes. You never know, maybe you could use something. And she took a shirt, and she just started laughing, and she said, "Okay, we're definitely using that." And then she took another one. She said, "Oh, this is amazing. We're using that." Yeah.
But why are they selling these things if people laugh at it, right? Who chooses that for? What store was it? H&M or something like that?
Really don't know. These are shirts that I had for a very long time.
Okay.
I don't know how you can get that wrong, but I always feel like I do. But that was one of the many things that became something that I was self-conscious about. But then we could use it as a joke. And now I love it. Now there were days when I went onto the set. There's this guy Bart Reining. He played Ricardo in the second season, and he was filming some scenes. And I came onto the set ready to shoot later. And he saw me and he said, "That's oh my God, how did they find this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I haven't changed yet. My clothes."
Yeah, that's good. But I know what you're saying, because ever since I went upstage, that was the point in time where I was happy, so to speak. I didn't get depressed, so I know what you're saying. It was pretty much
the therapeutic character of being an artist, basically, right?
That's me. That's a part of me, and the people love me for what I'm doing, or hate me for what I'm doing. But I can deal with that better.
I'm fascinated by it. I've never done stand up. I have a sort of a secret bucket list thing I talk about this with my friends. Like, we're gonna have to do 5 minutes of stand-up at some point in our lives. We're just gonna go together, but it's like the scariest thing. And just 2 weeks ago, I went to a comedy club where a friend of a friend did his first stand-up, and I heard about this and I said, "Can I come?" Because I was just fascinated by the courage of this man to just get up there and try out your jokes, and it was so inspiring. So I've actually been thinking about it a lot the week.
It's interesting that it is talking to a group of people instead of talking to one people. You're talking to a collective, because usually a dialogue, well, maybe it's like between 3 people, like it is right now, and then it's a trialogue. Is that right? Dialogue.
That's beautiful.
Write that down, please. No, but talking to a huge group of people that is not homogeneous. That's another word, but yeah, I'm using a lot of cool words today.
I like it.
You learned a lot from me today. We didn't record that, but tautology. Remember that? Look it up. Tautology is a great word. No, but when do you have the chance to stand in front of a lot of people and talk with them and have a direct reaction? Because someone is not going to like it, someone's going to like it. And it's interesting that you get a whole you're almost talking to a collective. I think that's interesting, and it's scary at the same time, because you are going to be judged by those people, by what you say and how you say it. And when you're on a Netflix show, you can get away with a joke, but you're not going to see the reaction right away. You might get a shitstorm afterwards, but that's still different, and it always feels
psychological as well.
Yeah,
because especially if you have a small audience and you have a guy sitting like this, not laughing at all, he decides for the whole room if you can laugh at a joke or not. And that's the things you have to deal with. We have this cool stand-up scene here in Amsterdam, I guess. I looked up at something, and you have pretty many shows.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's a group called the Comedy Train.
Yeah.
and well, where I was 2 weeks ago was in Toomler, and that's this place where a lot of the smaller and the bigger comedians go to also to test out their material. So it's like an open mic sort of feel. And yeah, I really felt what you're describing. Like, it was so interesting because I was really looking analytical because I have this fantasy of someday doing it myself. Like, it felt like at some points the joke wasn't even the important thing. It was sort of the energy. Like, the whole room deciding after one thing, we don't like this person. And then struggling to get them back. Yeah. And sometimes somebody came on and had a joke that was all right, but his energy was so nice that everybody decided, yes, we're with you.
Yeah, they have to like you.
It's so fascinating and so scary to me.
It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it.
But tone would never, because we talked about if it would work as a radio play, just voices. You weren't sure about that?
No.
Would tone in any way work as a theater play?
I don't know. It would be interesting. I've been talking with Robert Blij. He plays Robbie in the show. He's one of my best friends. And we're working on a lot of stuff together that we want to make. And we've also been talking about doing a theater show that never happens, sort of just playing with awkwardness in theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be interesting. I feel like in a way, tone is kind of anti-theater in a lot of ways, because when we did the casting for it, the casting of tone was huge. We saw so many people because we got a lot of really great actors who are schooled in theater, which almost every actor is in the Netherlands.
In Germany as well.
Oh, right. Yeah. So sometimes we had people who did beautiful things, but we thought this doesn't fit our world at all, because the world of tone is the world of understated talking, and we wanted people to sound like as awkward as they sound in real life, like real people. And sometimes this theater layer really takes you out of that.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to fill it with characters who all had this sort of half mumbling real type of talking. And I think, so it's kind of the opposite of theater, I feel like we did. Yeah. And in theater, you have to make sure that everybody hears you. You want to be really clear in what you're saying. Yeah. So I think it kind of goes counter the tone energy, but it would be an interesting experiment.
Yeah. Was there ever another setup instead of the music producer? Because you are a music producer, so this is basically your story to a certain degree, but did you ever think about using a different setup, or was it clear that it's going to be a music producer? Because you are a music producer.
Yeah, the first ideas we ever thought of was just we kind of emulated where my life was at that moment. So Tone was studying music composition at the a.k.a, which is my school. Yeah. But initially we thought, so we put him into this kind of EDM world. And he plays at the Amsterdam dance event. Yeah. But our first idea was that he would be much more in like a singer-songwriter world. Yeah. That's kind of the world that we wanted to take a humorous.
It was interesting because I was wondering why Tone is singing at a party, but is using autotune. That was the weirdest thing about the whole performance for me. That suddenly there's someone who knows the scale to set, because it was like, for everyone who doesn't know what autotune is, that's what every hip hopper basically uses. Like every rapper does it. And it puts your voice in the scale of the song that you're playing. But that made it kind of interesting. It made it kind of surreal, because why would there be autotune why would there be a microphone connected to autotune at a party that is not really set up? It was all just, like spontaneous and all. It was interesting. What was the choice of, I know this sounds like a music producer weirdo question, but why did Tone use autotune?
Good question. I think what I like about it is that he doesn't like it. You immediately see him going like, "Oh, come on, you're putting autotune. What is this?" So we like that he got put into this world that he really doesn't understand at all. Yeah. But I have to say that the first idea of that it wasn't from us. It's because KPN is the company that produced that made our show, that paid for our show, because we were on their platform before we went to Netflix. And they were super respectful of all of our ideas. They didn't really want us to change anything, but they had one suggestion. They said, when they heard our first plans, they said, could it be that he gets lost not in the singer-songwriter world, but more in the EDM world? And we thought like we're not gonna take any suggestions that we don't like, but we thought about that because it just fit their profile better.
Yeah.
And we thought actually that's kind of better because it's a more alien world for him. It's a more hip world in a way. So we actually really liked that. So we wanted his pretty bad. I think it's a pretty bad song that he plays anyway. It's really sort
still
of nothing.
Don't like that song?
No, no.
What was that on your vinyl player that you had? Wasn't that the song? Or,
Play it every day.
He has a great vinyl player there, but you don't have anything like someone made a CD for you with that song so you can hear it, listen to it in your car, or a vinyl version. Someone should give it to you as a present.
The song on vinyl.
Put it on YouTube, and we get that question sometimes. Like, are you going to release the song? But for us, it really started as part of the joke. Like Beer, the director, he really came up with the first elements of that song, and the idea for him really was to use the chords that everybody uses, write a lyric about nothing, and to get famous with that. That was always we don't shine a light on that too much, but that was always part of the joke for me. That not only does Toon become famous against his will, but also with something that musically is like, come on, this is.
It has nothing to do with him, right?
No,
we have a comedian entertainer in Germany, Jan Böhmermann, who made a song quite similar about nothing really, about German pop music, which is always shiny, and it's called People Living, Dancing World.
Yeah, and it was written by monkeys. They just put some words there, and they
and the monkeys choose the words. The great thing about this song is that it works as a parody, but also as a song, because it's also in the instrumental side. It's a parody, but also it sounds exactly like those songs.
Right. Yeah.
And that's that reminded me of the song.
Yeah.
But I think the idea to put him in the EDM world is pretty good, because as a singer-songwriter, he could still hide behind his instrument and behind the microphone. And I think pretty much every singer-songwriter is kind of socially awkward, maybe.
Yeah, it's sort of accepted, maybe, or part of the romantic.
That's the guy that I always hated and never wanted to be. That's one of Toon's big problems, right? Delivering in the second that everyone's focusing on him. Yeah. And with Fish Tank Manager, there's nothing really to deliver right now. Do it, okay? Yeah. Plankton, I'm a little plankton. There's nothing to deliver. There's nothing to perform. He's probably the opposite of what a lot of kids want to be, famous for fame reasons. Yeah. And he wants to be the artist. It's like the very opposite of it. And we all know that from making music, because when you start making music, you want to be recognized for who you are, not what you portray. And this is kind of a weird idea, because everyone who's going to clap for you, no one's ever going to clap for your soul, right? They're going to clap for what they see. And I think with Toon, I don't know, is Toon looking for appreciation? Is he even looking for that? Or is he, because like when he does the fish tank thing, he's more and more like like a mole in a hole. And he's moving further and further away. Or is it Nina? Is it Nina who brings back the light, the life? What is he looking for? What is Toon really looking for? That's the question. Does he know that? Do you know that? Do you know what he's looking for?
I think, I think there's a difference for me between the first and the second season.
Yeah.
For me, I've heard in feedback sometimes that maybe we've been a little bit too subtle with it or something. Not everybody picks up on it. I feel like in episode 1, the first episode, his sister says to him, he says, "Come on, you have to share your music with people, because how else are you gonna make it to the big time, you know?"
Yeah.
And he says, like, "I don't have to make it to the big time. That's not what it's about."
Yeah.
So I think he's at the beginning, he's pretty happy with making his music and not having anybody listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's human. He probably has fantasies about maybe everything falling together and people appreciating his work or something, but he's not looking to perform. But then in the second season, I think, without spoiling too much, Nina ignites something in him, and he thinks, "I'll show you. I can be seen, and I can do something and get recognition." And that's that lights a new spark in him. But I think that's the first time he ever had that. Like, I will show you that I can get followers and I can get appreciation. But I think that's not something he actually craves, just to show Nina that he can do it.
Right. Did you want to do some of the questions right now? Because we got a lot of questions, and just so we don't forget. I mean, we still have some time.
Cool.
We have
yes, but just
we got
so we don't forget it.
As you said, following and stuff. One does ask, how does he not have a larger social following? So you.
You are you, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. How do I not have a larger social following? I don't know. I think it just portrays how many. I don't know really. I started Instagram really quite recently.
You don't use it regularly, right?
No, I don't really.
Yeah. When I write you a message, it's like 3 days after. Oh, hi.
It took me a long time to actually figure out that you have to press a couple of buttons and then there are special messages. The first time I was like, oh, I've missed this stuff. Now
Netflix wanted another series and another fun.
Yeah, you have 1 day to decide. No.
How is the recognition of Toon and of yourself here in the Netherlands? Are you famous or is this?
I wouldn't say so. No. I think it answers the question. I think probably the social following shows how many people are really into the show. And I think it's just for a Netflix show, just not that many people. I think we were always making sort of a niche show. Yeah. So I think it just shows that. I don't know, maybe there are ways to get more followers that I just don't know.
I don't know if you can talk about that, but do you get any yearly reports how many people viewed your show, or is it not?
No, Netflix are pretty secretive.
You never know if you're famous in Taiwan.
Or big
in Japan or something.
No. The only thing I know is the personal messages I get through Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. So people write you and tell them how much you like that show. Because otherwise, artists they can't tell, because even every stream is not really equivalent to a person for us, but it is equivalent to a person, right? If you have 1,000 followers, it's 1,000 people, but it becomes more and more just
1,000 bots.
Yeah, well, it becomes more and more just a number and not worth of what it actually is, right? So it's important for creatives to get some feedback, even if it's just, hey, I love the show.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, true. And maybe we're not doing enough, because I had some people saying like, why isn't there a place we can go? Like there's no Facebook, there's no Toon website.
Exactly.
So some people then follow me and let me know something.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of really cool responses. For some reason, especially from Spanish-speaking countries.
Oh, cool.
I don't know why. Maybe we're higher in the algorithm there, or maybe they just understand the humor. I don't know. So I got a lot of cool messages. But I mean, it's obvious by my Instagram account that it's not huge. It's not a huge hit. I think. I think it's a really niche show, and I think.
But the interesting thing about it is that here in the Netherlands, it aired 2016-17, so that's a pretty long time ago.
Yeah.
And on Netflix, it is since October or something, 2019. So maybe that's also a factor in it. People maybe have forgotten about it, or maybe they didn't know about it. But how is that for you, that you made a series in like 2015-16 and now you get a real big response to it?
Yeah, that's strange, because we kind of already put it to bed in our mind.
Yeah,
we were working on new stuff, so we made it for KPN initially, which meant that people who were with KPN, who had their internet and TV through KPN, they could watch it. So I think that's 2 million people out of 70 million. They were the only people who could find it. So that was, on one hand, that was really cool, because KPN was really experimental. We were their first experiment. So they let us go free 100%. They let us do just make the show that we wanted to make. But then it was a little complicated because sometimes you would tell someone about the show and it was like, oh, where can we watch that? Well, you can't because you don't have KPN. So some people saw it then, but I don't think that many people. Again, KPN had the same rules as Netflix. They don't tell you viewing figures, so we never knew. But you can tell if just on the street and on social media, you can tell if it's huge or not. And it obviously wasn't. So then it went to Netflix like a couple of years later. And we kind of got into it again because we did the grading again a little bit better, and we worked on the subtitles, and we replaced a lot of music because on KPN we could use copyrighted music for some reason, and on Netflix we couldn't. So we kind of got back into it, and we did a lot of promos together with Netflix. So we got back into the characters a little bit. But yeah, it is strange. We made it a few years before it got onto Netflix. But we did always have this hope, this fantasy that it would get sort of a second life somewhere. And Netflix is the coolest place for you to ever get a second life. But I think, I don't know. I think we did a cool marketing campaign, so it can be that. I just think it's a really niche show. I think I think a lot of people turn it on and after 5 minutes decide, this is weird, this is slow, people are mumbling.
Did you pitch that to Netflix, or did Netflix say we want Toon?
Well, this really went through our production company. So we made Toon together with Newbie, who are our producers, and they run everything on the business side and organizing everything, and they're really awesome. And it just went through them. So I don't really even know the details. I just know Jeroen, who's the head of Newbie. He talked to someone from Netflix. And he mentioned the show Toon, and this guy from Netflix thought, wait, I saw a trailer for that. I thought it was pretty funny. And then a few weeks later, they just said that Netflix wants to buy it. It's sort of a one in a million
pretty crazy.
Weird thing. I think it was a lot of coincidences and very much luck.
But also you had a product. You had a product. It's when you meet someone, it's the same when you make music. Sometimes you meet very important people, but you don't have a product, and there's nothing in your catalog. Some people make music for 10 years and no one recognizes it, and suddenly you meet someone from, I don't want to say any names, but like any label, for Spinnin' Records, right? You meet someone from Spinnin' Records, and then you have this catalog and you can actually show them some worth. But if it's only one song, that is okay. But I mean, you have a series in your backpack that's really, really good in connecting to people. I think Netflix sees that kind of they are great with that. They do nothing else. They know series and they know how stuff works. And maybe also it just takes time till it finds its following. I guess that's one of the things too, because it came out in October. And that's not long. And there's The Witcher. The Witcher is being promoted
and Stranger Things
to hell and back.
And other things.
And that's the same with music. Like when a new song by Drake comes out, then your release is one place down, right? It's not on top. And Ed Sheeran is there. It's the same with you. Like there's Witcher and whatnot. And maybe there comes a time when it gets bigger. So we're trying to do our best to promote it.
Yeah, I'm super thankful for that. It's super awesome that you're sending it to people and your show. Because that's what this show. That's the only way.
Good. I wouldn't send shit to people.
I think at least every music producer should watch this series. There's a lot of music producers.
And also anyone who is into art, like filmmakers and maybe stand-up comedians or painters or writers who can relate to it. It's music is the topic, but everything else that comes with it is the interesting thing.
Yeah, I think I got some of the most heartwarming responses were just from people who recognize themselves in the character of Toon.
Yeah, sure.
People who have nothing to do with music specifically or whatever, but just know what it's like to just feel awkward in conversations and feel like they don't quite understand things that everybody seems to understand. So there was some really cool response from people who said like, Toon is me.
I knew several situations, for example, like I told you on the phone, where you sit in front of Robbie and how's the other guy called? Dylan. Which he was great, by the way.
It's awesome.
And you sit like this and you have this pretty shitty jingle and they are like,
Is it shitty though? I was always wondering if you meant it like da-dum or something like that. Because I've been trying to do sound logos. I don't do that. But the sound logo thing is like, you have no artistic freedom in that. It's like, there's a major scale because you can't use minor chords, right? You have like 5 options to do something. Then you sit in front of people and they judge you even for that. Because, I mean, what's better is better than
Yeah.
There's no, that's just taste, but there's no rational reason to say this is better than that. But you're discussing with people. I know that from producing for other people, you send them over the track that you worked on and they're like, no, I don't like it. And I love it. And then it doesn't happen, but if it happens, if people shouldn't like what I do. But you probably
don't like the snare.
Yeah, the snare. People focus on different things, right? You send them over the song that's ready, and then maybe everything is great, but they only hear like, there's a shaker in the background in wherever in the chorus, really low, and they're like, that shaker wasn't good, and they're not even gonna get back to you. It's great, but the shaker, I would get rid of that. They're just like, I hate the shaker.
It's the same in photography. When you photograph a band or a person, they don't look at the photo as an artwork. They just look at themselves, how they look. Yeah. It can be the best photo in the world, but they would say,
if it doesn't match their own view of themselves or how they want to see themselves.
I have a shadow here. Can you repaint my face or something? And that's annoying for you as a photographer because that's a good photo. So and then you have to choose a photo which is.
Is that a problem for you when you first saw the first takes of the series and you were like, no, is that really me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge problem for me. Yeah. In the rehearsal period.
Do you still have a saying, sorry to interrupt you, but do you have a saying from which angle you're being filmed, or is it completely up to someone else? But do you still, if there's a scene where you look like grandpa from The Simpsons or something, do you cut that out or do you edit that out, or are you just, you deliver and then you go away and someone else decides?
It's interesting. So when we first saw the rehearsals, I was horrified by myself, by how I sound, by how I look, by my face, by everything. I thought I was about to pull the plug from the whole thing. I said, this can't be on. This shouldn't be on screen, please. And then we just started filming, So we created it with 3 guys. And I was the only one who really didn't know what he was doing at all. So I hadn't acted before and I hadn't done anything within film. So, but we were, the 3 of us were co-creators.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff as well, just to learn. And I just put in hours and hours and hours to, how do you say it? So what I lacked in experience, I tried to make up for in just hours. So I did insane things. So I wanted to be involved in the editing because I found it really interesting.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't as good at it as our director and our editor. So what I did, we would film for 4 days and have 3 days off to recover. But I used those 3 days to watch all the material we shot. Every angle, every take, looking for little bits of gold. Like, we have to use this take. And so I would know all the material. Yeah. So when we went into the editing, I would be the guy who had it all there. So that really got me to get used to myself. You know what I mean? It's like when you hear your voice for the first time, it's horrible. But when you hear it for the 1000th time, you start to hear it as other people hear it.
Yeah.
So that I trained myself very quickly to get past the self-hate when I see myself. Yeah. And then eventually I felt I could be really honest in my opinion. So when I looked at material from the other actors, I could say, that's not the best take. That moment is great and we need that and that doesn't work at all. Yeah. And I feel like after a while I could do that with myself as well. Yeah. So that just through repetition, the self-loathing kind of faded.
Yeah, we have a question that fits really well. Thousands of Pixels ask on Instagram, does the awkwardness come naturally or is it purely acting?
It's a good one. There's a lot of, I mean, when I play tone, I find a lot of comedic, I approach it pretty comedically. So I do look for the awkwardness and I get a lot of joy out of making a scene as awkward as possible for the other person I'm acting with. So there is a lot of thinking about it and sort of timing, which but a lot of it is inspired just by myself and Dirk and Beer. So a lot of the ideas for situations and how you feel in such a situation are just us. but I do like to drag it out and play with it just as an actor, so to speak. So it's somewhere in between. I think there are scenes in Toon where I would have been just as awkward in real life, but there are also scenes where we're just Robert and I are just cracking each other up by trying to make it as awkward as possible. Yeah. So it's a little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Cool. More questions?
Yeah, do it.
Thousands of Pixels ask also, what can we do to help make an American or UK version?
Yeah, and I asked what he meant, if he meant a dubbed version, which would be an option, just hypothetically, or but he's actually talking about a remake, you going to America and doing that again in English.
Yeah, so there's
or let Brad Pitt do it.
Yeah, I don't think you could tell the difference really. I think it wouldn't really matter. So there actually was a phase where we've been in talks with two parties about a remake. And we discussed, it didn't happen in the end. Still could, I guess. It did, but we talked about all these possibilities. We talked about finding a completely different. We've talked about a German remake, actually. And I thought the funniest thing. I thought I don't want to really want to be involved in that. I just want to let people make it, and then just see the German Elise walking out. That would be hilarious.
That would be very interesting.
Oh my God, I would love to see that. And we also talked with an American party about these. We actually talked about the idea what if Toon was a girl?
Oh yeah,
could that still work? And it was really fun to explore that. So, well, the answer to her question is, what can we do to make that happen? Is just spread the word, I guess. Just have people see it and send it to people that you think might appreciate it.
I guess,
exactly.
That's what we need. And we would be super open to it. We really like the idea of a remake, whether it's... Maybe my favorite would be if we were not involved at all. Just give someone what we have and say, make what... I would love to see the casting of that. How do you find the German Elise and the German Robbie? That would be...
I think...
you can definitely find them.
You could surely... I think in German it would work. You have to maybe change a few things because I don't... We talked about it, how Toon would be in German, because I don't think Germans like losers in this kind of situation, and Germans like people who come from nothing, like street musicians, and they played in the rain, and they are good friends, and someone discovers them and makes them big. So this is more German thing. So I think you must.
But I mean the real hero story, not the anti-hero story.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know.
That's why I would like to, if there would be a German remake, I really would want the German people to put their sensibility onto it. It would be really fun because, I mean, it's so fascinating, right? To watch the American Office. It's the most iconic example of that, where at first, the first season didn't really work. And then they started to realize, like, Americans are just different. We have to make him more likable. We have to let Michael Scott win more often than David Brent won at the end.
We actually have a German version of The Office.
Which is very good. It's one of the best series ever.
It's called Stromberg.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You should watch that.
Yeah. I'm really...
It's a lot of awkwardness going on, too. But he's an asshole. He's an asshole, and that makes it... Toon is not an asshole.
Yeah.
And also we have, we have a question from Olivia De Pivia. What was your favorite line in Toon?
That's tough. I think my favorite bit of dialogue was... it's not really a line. Maybe I'll get to a line if I just start talking. There's something in the... episode 4 of the second season where they're at a seminar and Toon gets approached by a webcam girl, and the first conversation they have, I think that's my favorite bit of dialogue, and it has to do with the great writing from Dirk, but also the great performance from a.k.a. Questro who plays that, because it's a pretty long conversation, but nothing gets said. Everything is just, oh, I'm sorry. No, you start. No, I'm okay. It's like a beautiful piece of rhythmic awkwardness to me. I really love that one. I think the line this isn't going to make sense. But the line, maybe I laughed hardest because we did readings of the script. When Dirk finished the script, we would read it together. And in the second episode of the second season, they're at this game conference. And Elise, Toon's sister, is watching Toon playing a game. And there's this guy in full orc suit next to her. And he keeps saying little things. And she's not sure if he's talking to her or not.
I remember that.
And then he says something else, and she says, "I'm sorry, what are you talking to me?" And then I just read the script, and it said, "Where is Frank?" And I don't know why, but that made me laugh so hard. Maybe it's just because I know Dirk, and it's just a line to say. So "Where is Frank" is my favorite line. And
where's Frank? Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
What are you doing now after Toon? After the second season has been aired, and you're on Netflix, and you've achieved everyone's. Every artist's dream of becoming a huge Netflix star. Maybe. We don't know yet because we don't have the numbers, right? Maybe you are somewhere in Thailand or whatever. But you achieved a lot with that because a lot of people, I guess, would love to be able to tell a story like you did. So what are you doing now after that?
You did some acting,
pretty
right?
much. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I saw that actually, the Eindhoven.
So that's what I've been doing. So when Toon ended, I had a little phase where I just took sort of some time off because they were 2 pretty intense years back to back.
2 years or what?
2 years, yeah. When the first season, when we were done with the first season and everything was finished and we had the premiere, I think we had vacation plans. And then about maybe 6 days later...
Where did you go on vacation?
Nowhere, because 6 days later, our producer said, it might be a good idea to work on a little pitch for season 2, because it feels like the right time. And then a couple of days later, they said, you go and make season 2. So we just did another year, and it was pretty full-time stuff for the 3 of us. So after that, took a little break, and then sort of thought like, am I going to pursue this acting or not? Because all I had done was acting under the directing of Beer and doing the writing of Dirk. And I felt really comfortable with that. But I wasn't sure how it would feel in different things because I'm not trained. You know, a lot of actors in Netherlands are trained. But after some thinking, I thought I just loved being on the set so much. And the acting part of it, I just loved it so much. So I started seeking it out more, doing more acting. And I've been really enjoying it. So I'm doing that more. And also just the creating part of it. So there are a couple of projects that we're working on in different phases. So some are still in the concept phase or in the pitching phase. So we're working on a longer movie idea with the same creators as Toon. And also me and Robert, so who plays Robbie in the show, together have been working for 2 years now on something that we're hoping finds a home soon.
Okay.
And we have a lot of different iterations because we just started from scratch because we never written before. So we just started writing. It's comedy and it's a little bit in the style of Toon, but it's a completely different energy. Okay. So I'm working most of the time on creating stuff and pitching new things and the acting, love the acting as well. So I love to do those two together. Those are my favorite things now. So
and everyone wants to know season 3. Is it coming? Is it not coming?
Yeah, for season 3 of Toon, it looks like it's not coming. We're not in production on it.
Yeah,
we have always had some ideas for it because we just never stopped. We have this WhatsApp group with 3 of us, and we just keep coming the ideas. But Netflix hasn't asked for a 3rd season, so we're not expecting it. I guess it could always change if there's demand. I suppose if a lot of people would say that they want it, but I'm not sure how that works.
So it's up to the people basically to recommend, show it to their friends, and then
I guess so.
Make a street team, print t-shirts with Ik wil het niet and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, that'd be great.
Make it big. I mean, we're trying the same. So
that's awesome.
Everyone who loves that show, do it. Do it in your country. I'm sure America has a lot of people who will like it. And
I think the hardest thing about this is that it doesn't have a dubbed version. only a Dutch version.
Yeah.
So maybe that's one thing that slows the thing down.
Yeah.
In America, especially. I like your portrait of Donald Trump.
Oh,
on your toilet. That's
cute.
Pretty awesome.
People can't see it right now,
Yeah.
but
it's a pretty
it's funny.
accurate.
Yeah. Did you paint that?
No, I didn't. No, my girlfriend put that there, as she did many things in this house.
Okay.
So it's a painting of a naked Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I think the story is that the artist who created that got assaulted on the street by Trump supporters.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this painting became a little bit of a symbol for maybe not. We're not huge fans of Donald Trump. not to be too political.
No. So you answered the question yourself, because it was one of the questions too. Is don't I want to say the Dutch word for it, but I can for single, vroeven, something like that. Jonggezel or something.
Vrijgezel.
Is Dawn vrijgezel? Someone asked that. So
is Toon the character?
No,
or me?
oh my God, you're confusing me.
This is my life. This was my life. My best friend started calling me Toon. I just react to everything. So that's all good.
Okay.
So no,
Actually,
I have
we were in the kitchen. I was going to ask you where my jacket is. I was thinking, Toon, no, that's wrong.
Yeah,
and it's also Netherlands, not Holland.
Yeah, but it's all good with me.
This country is so complicated when you come here. Everyone has a different name than they have on the internet.
Yeah,
the country has a different name than it used to have. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's just crazy
True.
country.
Yeah, it's too complicated. I agree.
But what I find interesting is that for some reason Holland is on the map quite a bit in like entertainment or something. Not just through tone. You have the Eurovision Song Contest
this year. Oh yeah.
Yep. Is this a big thing, or is this for you? Is it because I remember back 10 years ago when we won the Eurovision Song Contest.
You're saying we
Germans, we Germans, Lena with Satellite. This was a pretty huge thing, even though the Eurovision Song Contest is pretty much hated and loved in Germany. How is that in?
I think you summed it up pretty well. I think it's the same. I went to a party to watch the thing, but just because there was a party and it's kind of a fun, kitschy thing to have on in the background, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't really understand the thing.
Would you compose music for Dutch artists there or anyone else?
Just to say you did, I guess, would be a fun experiment. But I don't understand that world at all. No, I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know where the joke begins and no.
And also in sports, I'm a big Formula One fan. I do a podcast, a German podcast on Formula One. You have Max Verstappen. He's pretty big here in Holland.
Yeah,
from what we know in German, we had Michael Schumacher and.
Is this your world? Your kind of world?
I guess not. But
man, I don't know anything about sport. I know when I'm abroad and people learn that you're Dutch, they say a couple of names of famous footballers. They say Johan Cruyff and Arjen Robben. Yeah. That's what a lot of people know about our country. But I don't really watch sports. I don't really.
That would be very surprising if she said yes. Yeah. If you would be a guy who goes to a soccer game and is like.
But it's pretty. It's kind of in my world, and the Dutch fans on the circuits are pretty crazy. And you have the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort coming up this year in May. So it's. I don't know if it's circumstantial that these things come together, so that the people look at your country. Also in Germany, not because the Germans always make bit fun of Germans, also in the whole soccer thing and soccer feud and Wohnwagen.
Was
heißt Wohnwagen?
Wohnwagen, caravan.
Yeah, Wohnwagen.
Yeah, Wohnwagen and cheese and something. Those cliches.
Like they mean that's a very Dutch thing to live in a Wohnwagen.
Of course,
to live in a trailer.
We are in the Wohnwagen right now, right? Eating cheese. You can see that.
With our clogs on.
Germany have this cliche that every Dutch person lives in a Wohnwagen. And
know about this one.
It drives slowly on the German Autobahn. That's a genuine cliche.
Probably true, the last one.
And also everyone wears clocks and eating cheese all the time.
Right. Yeah, I think that's not true anymore.
No.
It's interesting coming here and seeing Amsterdam, because we're here in a part of Amsterdam, right, that is so not Dutch. Or it doesn't have any of the cliches that you were describing. No woonwagen, no. Nothing. No. Just the same people that are in LA, the same people that are in Hamburg. In Lübeck, not so much, because it's like a...
We have artists in Lübeck, but it's more
but people in Lübeck are different, but like in the metropoles.
They
like,
all play cello.
In the metropoles, we all seem to think the same. We watch the same.
Yeah.
We all watch Netflix, right? Yeah. And it's interesting seeing that there is not really a difference at all.
True, yeah.
There's not a difference at all.
Yeah, and I think that, I feel like that creates a bigger barrier between I almost see it like the two parts of like the Netherlands. So you have the Amsterdam, Utrecht sort of, the metropole feel, and then everything around that. And I feel like those two are just, I don't know if it's the same way in your country, or just growing apart.
Yeah.
Like there's they just don't like each other. It seems like each other. Like I went back to my hometown.
That's true.
In Amsterdam, it's becoming increasingly difficult to order a cappuccino with normal
like you did.
I totally go along with it. So I order a cappuccino with oat. Is it like oat milk?
Oat milk. Yeah.
So that's. So they have 7 types of milk substitution. And then I recently went back to Eindhoven, where I'm from, to meet up with a friend. And I ordered, like I got used to, a coffee with oat milk. And it's like, oh, Mr. big man with his oat milk. I think they really seem to annoy.
That's the same in Germany, especially in the big cities.
Is it like the clash of cultures almost? Like, as you said, the people from the country who still eat meat, who still don't, meditate, who still don't go to the gym, versus the metropole guys like you. I mean, do you go to the gym? I don't know.
Sometimes.
Do you?
Let me.
But the discussion is always there, and there's like the clash of ideas. We talked about that, like vegan people telling the stupid people from the country that they're still eating meat and all.
Right.
And there's less and less of a dialogue happening. While, well, it's up to everyone to say what is better. Especially in that case, eating meat or not. Yeah. Everyone has to decide that, but still, that the possibility of a dialogue between those almost different cultures. I would say it's different cultures. As you said, you come to the smaller city and then they give you a weird look because you're ordering oat milk.
Yeah.
Which you're used to here in Amsterdam, right? Everyone, no one drinks milk here anymore. It's just oat milk. Yeah. And still, I think your parents live in Eindhoven, right?
Yeah, my mother,
yeah. So when you get back there, you meet a completely different culture. And I think it's interesting. I would like to know if that's the same for other countries. I think in Europe, it's very prominent that there's the rural areas and then there's the metropole. In the US too. But what about China, for example? Because they have so many big cities. And that's again something, I want to see a series on Netflix. There is Chinese series, but how does a music producer from China live the tone life, basically? Is there a difference? Because I mean, there's a different way of handling the awkwardness in those kind of countries, right?
Yeah,
I would like to see that. But it's still interesting.
Downgraded on the social system in the app.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, I heard about that. The Black Mirror.
Yeah. That's pretty real. Yeah, actually.
But still, that is what I consider one, and I said that before, but. Seeing the life of a Dutch music producer and seeing that it's the same. But I wonder if this is something we're living in a bubble, in the metropole bubble that we're talking. I mean, he's more from the, Lübeck is
not really.
I'm always making fun of it, but Lübeck is like, Hamburg is like 2 million and Lübeck is like 200,000. So it's like a tenth, right? That's like a tenth.
But it doesn't have 2
It's like
million.
a tenth. But still, and this is still a city. I consider that a city, but I wonder if that's us talking about Netflix and oat milk and vegan way of living and healthy living, and if we're losing a connection with those people in Germany.
Probably.
We talked about the right-wing movement and all that, and all the countries over Europe have that to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think this conversation is annoying a lot of my old friends from Eindhoven. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, there's a big disconnect, and you see it in the way people vote. Like
sure, yeah.
And I also became very aware of it a few years ago. There was a bit of a feud where like the biggest show, probably there's the one big talk show in the Netherlands called De Wereld Draait Door. The world keeps turning or something.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of criticism that it was all people from Amsterdam talking about Amsterdam-y things. And there wasn't the most people. And then we were just talking about a lot of people in Amsterdam now very proudly say, I don't have a television actually. So a lot of people who do watch that are maybe from smaller cities, and they just don't feel represented anymore in these shows. Because it's become this little media, little
media bubble, yeah.
So I guess it's kind of a shame that we're all growing apart.
Yeah.
Way, yeah.
But I think in Germany we have some television products that are for the small man, so to speak, for the small person. I don't know if you have something here.
Well, I don't have a television. I do. Probably.
Like one of the biggest comedy shows is an improv show called Ditsche. And Ditsche is an alcoholic who doesn't work. The whole show is in an
fast food
restaurant.
Yeah. Where we get currywurst, you know currywurst?
Currywurst.
Yeah, like the sausage, the curry sausage.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all improv, and he talks with the waiter, with the guy who runs the place, and there is another guy sitting at a chair like this, drinking his beer, saying nothing at all. And but that's a real thing. Those people exist, and that's what makes it funny
and tragic at the same time.
Yeah, and tragic at the same time. A bit like Toon, because people like Toon also exist. I know 3 guys that are exactly like it.
But in the end, those are not very self-confident people, right? People that are just not self-confident. Yeah. There's a lot of them, not just in the music industry.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Germany isn't really cool, isn't it? Would you say that Germans are cool?
Except for people.
Except for us.
Well, you're the 2 I know. You guys are really awesome. So I guess I don't know. I don't have I don't see like the model German in front of me. I don't know what that.
What do you see here in Holland from Germany? What comes over? What swaps over in the news or in entertainment? Except for Rammstein and Scooter and.
I feel like in my little Amsterdam bubble, we really like Angela Merkel. She has a good name here.
Yeah.
In entertainment and stuff, it's not that much. I mean, Scooter is just great. I think there's not a 90s party here where we don't play Scooter.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of German shows, or I don't know. It's not that much. It's weird. You'd expect there to be a little bit more of a crossover. We sometimes feel like a part of our metal scene, metal music. There's a lot of bands, Dutch bands that don't do as big in Holland and then go to Germany and do better there.
Yeah, the subcultures actually are part. I think they're very important for connecting different cultures, but because it's a culture inside a culture. And all the Gothics, for example, they gather for a festival, and Dutch Gothics come. Like what is it? The big festival, Mariluna? Mariluna, do you know that one?
No,
the big Gothic festival in Germany. But it's interesting that those, or metal. I mean,
we always and Rock am Ring, right? That's like a huge thing.
But that again, the scene, the rock scene. There's no real rock scene, right? There's a metal scene. People that listen to metal, but rock music is pretty much dead. I would say rock is
old guys.
But still, I think it's interesting that those subcultures bring people together. We are in a subculture right now, right? Doing creative art, or we're working in, let's say, music, the music production. That's a subgenre, but it's working in like in every country. It's the same, and I think it's important to have that more. And I think in Netherlands, there's more support. I would like to know that more support for subcultures. We're in a complex right now where you live that is sponsored by the government, right?
Yeah.
To give people a place to be artists, basically.
Yeah.
We have that too in Germany, but it's hard to get, and it's not very publicly. It's not very known. Those things you have to search for them. You have to search for getting money for a tour, for example.
Right.
I'm sure there's something like that here too. But I think it's very, very important to support those subcultures. Is there do the Netherlands support artists?
I think we're not in the best time for that.
Was it better before?
Yeah, we're kind of in a phase now where a lot of budgets, like for theater, are being cut, and a lot of theater companies are losing their the budgets that they've relied on for a very long time. I don't know, some more sort of right wing parties are at the helm for the last few years, and I think it's. The arts are being looked down upon a little bit. Like it feels a little bit like expendable to the people in charge. So like maybe worry about art after we fix all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty much like in Germany, because we have not those culture in art. I mean, we have big productions that are pretty shitty often in movies, but we don't have an art scene. It's all everything is entertainment. In stand-up comedy, we have a underground stand-up scene. In small towns, you have shows, comics that play their specials. They not really known, not really famous. But then on the other side, you have comedians then that are playing big arenas and stadiums,
right?
Who are not very good. So we just have to do these two things: either really big or really, really small.
Yeah, nothing in the middle.
Yeah, that's true. But was it any different ever? And that's always a question that you have to ask yourself. Like, is our view when you look at music, and to my mind comes Pink Floyd, of course, like the big artsy, still very successful kind of music, but didn't that also grow over a longer time? It was not released, and then it was like the big thing. Isn't it more like almost a myth or something that just grew? Like the Rolling Stones. I mean, they needed. Well, they're entertainment. They're pure entertainment, right? Who's gonna decide that?
Yeah,
I can't say, but still, when you look at music, for example, bands like Tool that we talk about that we love, that's very artistic. Whatever that means, but it means you have to spend some time with it to understand it. I think that maybe describes it. And you have to dig inside yourself to understand it, because it's about you, actually. That's my interpretation of that. But as we have so many series that we could watch. I could watch Toon season 1, season 2, and I could watch it again. But I could also watch The Witcher and so forth. And then I could go on Spotify and listen to the new Tiesto, which is it good? I don't know. I don't. You know, Tiesto has been around for so long, but he's released so much music. I don't know what he stands for anymore. I mean, I love Tiesto, but if you want to sign some of my songs to it. But we have so much going on, so much that doesn't force us actually to listen or to really watch. We could do that while we're eating, right? Yeah. While we're talking to someone, we could watch like a lot of babies. Like when you go into hotels and you see a lot of babies sitting there in the dining room, and in those big rooms where everyone eats, and they're sitting there eating and watching cartoons. And I think it's very hard to even give art, what we consider art, something you have to focus on and all, a platform. I mean, Netflix can be a platform for that, but there's just so much going on, and it's hard to educate people in that way, right? It's hard to educate people, to show them, hey, when you invest time in something, it will grow on you. That's something maybe we learned. Maybe we're the last, and that sounds very heroic and all, but the people that are under 35, I'm 36, I'm not under 35, but so there's somewhere, there's the line, right? When we grew up, we had a CD of Tool and then a vinyl.
And you went to the store to get one CD.
And then it wasn't there, and you had to wait for another week because it had to be reordered and all.
Yeah, it's also in other parts. Like in the 90s, you had to go to the store and buy a game, and you bought the game, And you played that game for about a year.
Yeah,
And even your father maybe played it.
Yeah.
And your mother was even interested in it. And it brought people. I remember the NES when it came out. My parents bought it for us, but then the next morning I woke up and my father was sitting in front of it playing it. You know,
and now it's like this. You can buy games that you don't even play. You just have it on your hard drive.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
everyone has Toon at home.
Too much choice.
Not everyone is watching it.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Yeah, I remember one huge moment for me was when I was just, I know when this was, probably 2002 or something, and just flipping around on the TV, and I just fell on to The Office, the British version of The Office, and for about a minute, or maybe longer, I thought, oh, this is a documentary. This is a really weird documentary, and then suddenly Ricky Gervais did the funniest thing ever, and I was like, oh my god, this is a comedy show. I've never seen anything like this. And then just watching the episode to the end, and then thinking, how am I gonna find this? What is this? And then going to a store and finding the actual DVDs of this show, and buy them from the guy behind the counter, saying, oh, this is something cool, you gotta. And then just having these DVDs, and they meant so much to me. And
you don't have that anymore. There are also critics that say Netflix has too much on it. You can't choose.
I wouldn't say, me personally, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I'm always looking for something. I don't find anything. That's how I discovered Toon. I was just looking through Netflix because I'm usually going for the thumbnails, of course, which they change after they know what you like, right? They always have different thumbnails. And I was just seeing that, and then I was reading the description, and then I was interested because, of course, it triggered something inside of me because it was about me. It was not about you.
Yeah,
it was about me. But finding that kind of series is hard.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you have to search for it.
Yeah,
and that's what I do like about the abundance of choice that you have now, because sometimes it can be paralyzing. Like I think we all know the feeling of searching around Netflix and then just deciding not to watch anything or music.
Like TV.
Yeah.
When people say, I don't have a TV, but they watch Netflix, it's exactly the same. Netflix or maybe Amazon Prime in some genres is the same as free TV. Free TV is now, but normal TV is now Netflix. It's
a
the
substitute
same.
for it.
You can get everything that you could get on TV earlier in the days. You can now get on Netflix. It's exactly the same.
People watch Friends on Netflix. I don't get. I don't get.
That's really weird.
I think a lot of people watch Friends on Netflix. Yeah,
it's crazy. That's a lot of nostalgia. It's the same that we're talking about right now. The old days when Tool was a great band, and it's still a great band. But the same with I think with Friends, it's the same. They all know that from everyone who's 40 now. They were 20 or younger when they saw that, and they feel like they're 20 again. But they're not. They're not.
It's also just a comforting little world. I have with all the comedy shows that it's mostly comedy shows that I just watch on repeat. Just comforting. I think the sound of Friends is that to a lot of people. Just comforting little world.
It's almost like music, like you said. It's like music in the background. Which is interesting that it has changed so much how we consume that stuff. But still. If you want to focus on something, I'm not sure if it's a great way. Just put it on and do something else. Then you're not focusing on it. That's the problem with multitasking, which is not good for the brain. It's not good to two things at once. It's basically you're doing nothing.
I'm a huge. I do that all the time, and I realize it's not good for me. But I really, I'm never in silence anymore. And I know this is very unhealthy, and I'm trying to really change that.
Where meditation comes in, because you're forced to just be with yourself. And it's because we were talking about that, because I was talking with Jan Ole about in the morning getting up, right? And then there's your phone and something, even if your mom says, hey, I'm coming over tonight, and your whole day is ruined. But you know, if you turn that off, and there's a lot of scientists who say, hey, first hour of the day, no phone, and go in flight mode. And but then again, we talked about it, and Jan Ole said, well, what else am I going to do if I'm not? And that's the addiction that we have, right? Because we're used to seeing something, and something that you can do is you sit down and you meditate, and you don't have that. I mean, it's almost like I see it now as a necessity, because what else am I going to do? Yeah, what else am I going to do when I get up? I have to do. We think we have to do something. Yeah, get to sleep again. No, when you meditate, you're basically doing something, but you're doing nothing. And
I could use that. I really want to look into that. I only recently started doing the phone stuff, like putting it on flight mode.
Oh yeah.
So like when you wake up, you don't see all the because that was huge, a huge anxiety thing for me. Just waking up and in the morning, I don't really like life for myself, and then just seeing like, oh, somebody wants this, I got to look at that.
What a great start!
Oh, horrible. Yeah. So I've started implementing that, but I just go from podcast to podcast. I'm horrible. I take my phone with me when I'm cooking. And just put it there, and there's a podcast blaring.
Yeah.
And
maybe that is also because we still come from what we could call family, right? I don't know about your family. We don't have to talk about that, but still, our generation still knows some sort of family, and a lot of people just grow up with at least no siblings, or maybe not even just a mom, and she's not there because she's working, whatever. So that's kind of it's like a substitute again, also for people that are around you, right? The podcast thing, it's the same. Sometimes I listen to our own podcast, not to hear myself talk or anything, but I see people doing that. People write us messages and they say, "Oh, I like your voice so much. I listen to that to go to sleep," which is cool. I mean, I have nothing against it. It's no misuse, but still,
the thing is,
it would be better if you listen to yourself before you listen to someone else, right?
But the thing is, podcasts or TV shows, Netflix, it's exactly the same as normal TV back in the 90s. Normal TV back in the 90s or in the 2000s, they watch TV when they cook, when they made their laundry, when they want to go to sleep. It's exactly the same. It's just a substitute. It's exactly the same.
Background noise.
Yeah.
But I've become more and more conscious of that. It's really not healthy what I'm doing. When I'm in the shower, that should be a moment to ponder
where you
things.
shower. It's a moment to shower, actually.
Yeah,
that's also what mindfulness is, right? You're in the moment. You're really living that moment. Otherwise, why are you doing things if you're not there?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
I'm filling it up. I'm filling it up with podcasts that I'm not even really interested in, just to not be with my thoughts.
Yeah, but you're skipping your own life and living someone else's life in the end. And you live in someone else's dream in the end.
And it never ends. You can listen to podcasts the whole day.
Yes, there's enough for a lifetime.
Twice.
Except for our podcast, which of course is.
which is a totally different story.
Hey, it's a new level, a whole new level.
We'll listen to it in the shower, anywhere. Just
It is a shower podcast.
Yes.
The shower podcast.
It sounds like a pretty good idea. Maybe if you would do a third season of Toon, maybe Toon has a podcast. I feel that
would be.
It's not a bad idea. That would work. That would totally work. That'd be really funny.
Podcast. Interesting thing about podcasts is also that a lot of guys are doing it. I don't hear. Well, if it's girls, it's usually a sex podcast. At least in Germany. I don't know what about the Netherlands.
I don't really listen to Dutch podcasts, I have to say.
Oh, you do American?
You listen to German podcasts?
It's strictly German. I don't understand a word.
As it's a lot of guys just talking to each other. And it's the same with us. We did a song production, and then we figured out how we can talk about that stuff. And then we started recording it. And sometimes I'm not sure if we were recording a podcast, right? But when we're in the car driving here for 6 hours, sometimes we're like, oh shit, we should record this. This is so good. Let's not waste our life for the real world. Waste our life on a podcast. But that's like a whole new level of something that's not good. Some dialogues, I mean, even us talking off camera, it's just a different conversation. But when you're recording everything, you always have to think, oh, is it good or is it bad?
Yeah.
And that's something you should also have places where you don't have to do it. It's the same meditation. You don't judge yourself, your thoughts, because you have to see what your thoughts are. You have to let them come. But if you're tabooing anything, like you said, Toon would never do a sex scene, right? But sex is a part of life. And if you just put it outside the door, it becomes a problem sooner or later.
Maybe Toon.
It's important to let these thoughts through and not judge them and get to know yourself better. And
I think Toon would be in the room when another couple does a sex scene.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, playing Fish Tank Manager.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I got really into running recently, and I made a deal with myself for a long time that I couldn't listen to anything while I was running. So that's when I forced myself to
Interestingly enough, we talked about that, and I said the only time I think it's a great fusion of things is when you're doing sports and listening to aggressive music. I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
that's a whole new level.
I listen to
still,
podcasts.
Still, if you're running, you should be running. But
but it's
also the tempo is kind of hard. If you're listening to like fast hard style, but you're walking slowly, it's not good for the brain either. But there's this function in Spotify where they adjust the speed. Do you know that?
Yeah,
adjust the speed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it makes running much easier and much more fun. But I just wanted to challenge myself into being with I thought that's a good time. And if I'm trying to work something out or just my brain does interesting stuff when I'm running, I always feel better and more in control when I'm back and I've figured some stuff out. It just works.
Yeah, sure. You talked about comedy shows, that you watch a lot of comedy shows. What are your favorites? It sounds like a school interview question.
My favorite comedy. Well, we talked about The Office more than we should have already. I really like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which we already mentioned. Arrested Development. I'm obsessed with it. I can just watch it over and over and over.
That's not a sign of addiction, right? If you do something over and over and over again? No,
I'm fine.
Okay.
I think those are the holy trinity for me.
Yeah. I feel that. Yeah. Something like Californication or something?
Yeah, really like it. Really like it. Yeah.
That's like the anti-tone, almost like.
Yeah, it's like the total opposite.
That should be his uncle. And he takes him out and shows him how to do it.
Yeah, I think that happened in the last season. He got his son, which is a bit of a tone-esque character.
Yeah. I love that. A lot of people said the last season wasn't that good, but I love the change of perspective for Hank Moody. That's
David Duchovny is always. When I was
he's also a tragic character.
When I was a kid, I would go to the hair salon. Is that a word? Hair salon, hairdresser, and I would have a photo of David Duchovny. And then I modeled my hair. Not this hair. This is David Guetta, the old David Guetta.
Max Martin.
Yeah, but David Duchovny is a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's a cool guy. I want to meet him. I remember
we should invite him to the podcast.
Yeah, why not? And Tone is also here. Maybe when David Duchovny comes, you're going to be back.
Yeah, I'll show up for that.
He's going to teach us all some lesson. I think he was very addicted to. He was also. He talked about that. That he was very sex addicted. Was that a thing? Maybe.
It's pretty much Hank Moody.
Yeah, that's Hank Moody, and there's also like the blur of the lines between character and real person, which is interesting in your case that it brought so much good stuff. Is that still a cure for stuff, or is it coming back? Is the tone inside of you the part that you didn't accept? Is it coming back now that you haven't? Done the series for like 2 years or what? When was the last day of shooting?
Yeah, that was
like 2 years ago,
2017 or something.
Yeah, 3 years. Is it coming back, or are you cured now?
I don't think it's really coming back. No, I mean, I still sometimes fall into the first episode of the second season is called Schimmelpaleis, which is like Palace of Mold. Which is loosely based on stuff that I tend to do sometimes. So I still have that sometimes. Sometimes I just close the door and I just go into my world and I don't see anyone for a couple of days. And then I find it really difficult to reconnect again. Then going to the supermarket is a huge challenge. But I know I've created that for myself. So that's totally my own fault. I just shut everyone out for a couple of days. But no, all in all, a lot of things I didn't like about myself. Some of them I accepted a little more through making Tone. And some of them just got less and less. Yeah. Just being on the set with all those people and having some creative responsibility and not crashing and burning under those pressures and making these awesome friendships through Toon, because a whole part of the crew still hang out all the time with each other. There was some really special friendships that came out of that show, and it just helped me a lot in accepting myself and becoming more comfortable with myself. So I think I'm less and less like Toon. Yeah.
Free therapy.
Yeah, it is the best therapy.
Not free. It's not. It wasn't.
It wasn't free. Somebody paid for it.
Paid therapy, actually.
Yeah,
you
true.
get paid to do therapy. That's pretty good.
But it's that thing we talked about before. Like you can. It's the most therapeutic thing to me that I ever had is to take something you don't like about yourself or from your life, and then creating something that couldn't have been there without that experience. And it just reminded me of something that happened when I was like 14, when I first started writing terrible song lyrics. And I already felt that little magical thing. I think that's my favorite thing about any art. It's you go through something shitty, and then you make something that couldn't have been there without that experience, and suddenly the weight of that experience has lifted.
Yeah,
I think that's my favorite thing about art and about making Toon as well. Some horrible things that we just put into Toon, and I think like that scene would have never been that way if that terrible thing didn't happen, or terrible awkward thing. Yeah,
it's basically changing perspective on things, right? Before it was something negative, and you saw it from that. Oh no, I don't want that fear. Maybe talking in front of other people.
Yeah.
But then you see it from a different view and make it something positive and change your view on that. And then it becomes part of you and it becomes accepted. And the acceptance of the tone inside.
Yes. Yes.
The podcast.
I like that.
And I'm sure people can do that without having their own show. That's a bit too for me. Sure, so I can't really give that as advice.
You have to face it in some kind of way. And I know some people that talk about depression on Instagram, get negative comments about it, and get depressed through that. And that's pretty bad cycle. But the same people say that Instagram helps them with their depression, and but also they ask themselves why they are depressed. So for me, the answer, I don't know these people in detail, but for me, the answer is pretty simple. Get off the internet.
Right.
Be in real life more. And I think in our days now, for a lot of people, that could be a thing that you could try out. It's
like the digital detox kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're not very... Do you use your phone a lot? Because as I said, when I see your Instagram activity, it's like 3 days off, and then isn't it? Is it?
Yeah, like, more. I think I don't.
That's good. That's good. You're a real hero. Yeah, you are.
It's just because I'm bad. No. It's I check my phone a lot. I'm on there too much, just like everyone. But I'm not good at using social media. So I decided to get Instagram. Then I had 3 miserable days thinking about, with every moment, like, is this something you put on Instagram? Is this stupid? And I thought, I hate
Can't
this.
Be stupid enough.
Yeah. I just don't know. And now I have, I don't know, I think I have less than 20 posts, and I make a post and I delete it again because I think, that's stupid. That's so stupid. Yeah. I don't know how to work it. And it doesn't make me happy thinking about it. No. But
consumes a lot of your lifetime, actually, thinking about what is going to be good enough for someone else.
Right.
Why would that be something? I mean, we're all guilty of it. So everyone's talking about it. I'm talking about it too, but I'm always thinking about social media content. And then I just opened TikTok just before Jan Ole picked me up to come over here. I opened TikTok. Do you know TikTok? You're not on TikTok, right?
No, I have heard it, but I don't know what it is.
You can do the weirdest stuff that has no meaning, and you get like a lot of views for that. And then you do something on, like I did something about water. I wanted people to drink their water every day, just to remind them. I thought it was a good thing. And I did something funny, and it took me like 2 hours to do that video. It gets like 800 views. And the next day I had a little swimming pool on my balcony, and the water was frozen, but you didn't really see it. It was just the surface was just frozen, and I put an orange on it and just let it slide on the water. It looked like it was sliding on the water, and it got like 200,000 views, right, and 10,000 likes and all. But I didn't really think about it. I just did it And that's crazy that you put so much effort in content. No one sees it, and basically you shit. You should take a shit, make a video of that, and then it blows up. That's tone. Basically, that's tone.
Right.
But TikTok is like the epitome of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Epitome. Yeah.
But how do you handle it? Because I feel like you're really good at it. It's at the social media thing. I think your Instagram it works. And there's a lot, right? You use a lot.
I started it. I think 1 year ago. I decided, okay, every day I'm going to do content that I think represents me as a person more than as a musician, because that also switched, because I was just known for being a musician, like a metal musician. I started as a metal musician, then the EDM thing. But people follow me because they think I'm funny. And that's never, I mean, that's okay if people think that and it's intentional. But I never did that for that reason, to be funny. It just connects with people, and then they give you feedback, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it if you like it. If I'm funny for you, and it's fun for me as long as it's that. But there are also days where I just don't feel like doing it, and then I don't do it. But still, if you want to build a following on social media, you have to be there basically every day. And it gets more and more of a chore, and it gets more and more.
And maybe you have to be a fitness model.
Yeah, that's even easier.
Would
that's
help.
even easier,
yeah. That's,
no, but I think the continuous thing, I'm sure people would love to hear you talk about stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of people, I mean, especially after seeing this, they would like to know more about your opinions, because people are looking for opinions. Not that this is an easy thing, because you instantly become a role model for people, which is kind of hard to take that.
That doesn't appeal to me at all.
No,
I have no.
It never did to me. But then the first time you do it, the same with a podcast, and then you get reaction, and you see that you have more impact on people with the spoken word stuff than you have with music or course. Well, no, of course I don't know, but because there's way more. You're given way more of your personality when you're sitting there, because this is a very honest format right now. You're not Toon right now. You're actually Joep.
He isn't.
Oh, you know, right? So that's a very honest format, and I think that's when people connect the most.
Yeah,
and that's the good part of social media, when you can be that. But not everyone wants to be that. It's also hard, right, to keep that apart from your private life. Also,
I think there's a lot of reasons why I couldn't do that are in Toon. So for me, that was the perfect way to channel those things. Like, man, we talk so much about opinions and how me and Dirk and Beer are a little bit, we share some of this, but how difficult it is to have an opinion. And like, you have an opinion and you immediately think, oh, somebody else has a different opinion. I'll just agree with them because they were the last who talked. We wrote to have scripts about this. So I don't see myself outing my opinions.
But you could do it the other way. And I'm not a fan. I'm not giving out my opinion as well. I'm trying to help people see that there's never only one opinion. There's like a million realities coming together. And you can put that in humor so people will see, hey, my view on the world might seem as if it's the center of the universe, but it's actually very unimportant for everyone else on the planet. And just to accept that, you could convey that in everything that you say and do. I think that's one of the best messages, right? To bring out, make up your own mind, people. Listen to people, but be critical, but also be receptive. I mean, both. But just putting out something like, I hate water, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone, right? A spoken word is cool. You should do a podcast. all these suggestions. Nah.
I love podcasts, but I don't know. I don't know if I could do one.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's a very genuine thing also in stand-up comedy and in music. They like the idea of making music. They like to see people on stage get the reaction, but they don't like be it. So I don't know. In Germany, there are a lot of podcasts and podcasters by celebrities. They have listeners, but they can't do it. They're not a personality.
Not good at it. No.
Yeah.
So how did you know that you wanted to do stand-up comedy, and that because presumably you were a fan of it before you did?
Sure, yeah.
So how did you make the connection of I'm actually gonna do that?
I don't know. I always wanted to do it, like with 18, I was writing stuff, but there was not the infrastructure in stand-up comedy. I would never had the idea to get on stage and tell stuff because there were no stages. So, but I always were a fan of it, and I always liked to entertain people. And back in school, in breaks, I told stand-up bits from famous comedians, so to entertain. And I always loved at birthdays to entertain, and that was always my thing. And humor is a big part in my family. And they're always joking, and I like that somehow. And I felt that I liked to be on stage. And then on Sunday there was the switch.
The just do it moment, right?
Not just music, because I always liked making music on stage and writing it, but nothing else. I didn't like the traveling or the setting up stuff and
which is like 90% of being a musician is like going somewhere, building up your equipment, something is not working. There's a lot of stress involved in that.
And always talking with bandmates, and you made suggestions, and they were like, nah, we should do that, but we never did it. Right. So it was always like that, and I always hated that, going to rehearsals, doing nothing than just play the songs that I played last week and the week before, and nothing changes. So I always hated that part. I always liked to be on stage, entertain people. But I would not consider myself as a musician.
And with stand-up, is it different?
Stand-up comedy is you go on stage, tell jokes, and that's everything. There are things around it, but you can work with that. That's easier, I guess.
How do you handle when you're writing in the team? How do you handle the big question of who says what's gonna be done? So who has the last word? How do you approach that? Because that's very hard, especially in songwriting, when you have equal power, but of course you don't have equal power. Someone always wants to win, and that's very hard. Teamwork is very hard. How do you do that?
It's interesting. I feel like I had the opposite experience of you, actually, because I made music by myself for I don't know, 10 years. And it never really made me happy, because I always would doubt the quality so much, and I would listen back to it and hate it. And when we started working on Toon, it really opened my eyes. Suddenly I was doing creative stuff, but I was happy with what we were doing, and I had a lot of faith because it was our creation. It wasn't me. It was I shared it with these two guys who I thought were really amazing. So that actually cured a lot of stuff for me that I struggled with creatively. And as for what you're asking about the roles, we really fell into place really naturally, very quickly, because Beer is the director, and I sort of came up with the very first thing, and then it was really clear that he was going to direct the show, and I was a weird entity, and we weren't sure what I was going to do. And then Dirk came along really quickly, and he was the writer. So when we're talking about scripts, Dirk is in charge, and Beer knows a lot about scripts, and he has to direct it. So I very naturally became the third person in the room, and I felt really comfortable with that, because I didn't have experience yet. And I got to learn from these guys. Some script sessions were just me not saying anything, just listening to them, and then being really excited. Sometimes I did have an idea, and it would excite them, and I would be like, "Oh my god, I got something in!" So I was really grateful to even be there. And then, as we progressed for 2 years, my roles sometimes got bigger in bigger departments, and I really had to feel like, "Oh, I can add something here. I'm welcome here." And at other things, I had to try and like, I'm not needed here. I'm just gonna. So we never really had any big issues with that, I think.
But I guess that comes with that you are on the same page. You want to get the scene to work, or get the character to work, or the episode. In music, it isn't like that always. The guitarist wants to do another solo, and he comes up with suggestions that don't fit the song at all.
Right.
He just wants to some, and the other guy said, "Nah, I wouldn't do that." Why? I just wouldn't do that.
Arguing about
And-
opinions, basically, because it's all just opinions, right?
And,
arguing about opinions is like the worst waste of time you could probably ever.
And you tell your
be
drummer
involved in.
it would be good if you play that, and he said, "No, I can't play that. I just have the skill."
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so annoying, especially then about marketing and stuff as well. I think we should do videos. Nah, that's not the time for it, or something.
Right.
Where Danny and I are the same on that, because Danny had the same issues, I guess, back in the day with his bands. And when you want to do something, and you have other people that also want to do something but don't have the courage to do something, they just like the idea of doing something. That's the part where it gets annoying. And in stand-up comedy, you just can't do what you want.
Yeah.
It could fail, but then you just tried it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice
Talk.
Yeah.
Nice talk.
Thank you guys
It was
much.
awesome. It was awesome. It was long.
Yeah.
The cat is, where is it?
I think she's dead. So
She is dead.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Plot twist, she is dead. No, I hope not.
No.
no.
I thank you guys so much for coming here. I can't believe you did that. I hope you didn't feel pressured.
Us neither.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
That's
Because the idea was to do it over the phone.
yeah.
Yes.
And I just said, it's too bad. I didn't mean it as a real suggestion. I said, it's too bad that we live so far apart. And you guys were, well, I guess we could come to Amsterdam. I can't believe you did.
Yeah, because it fitted in my schedule, and we had the idea to come over, but we didn't want it to suggest it because
We didn't
know
want
each
to force.
other.
Right,
We didn't
right.
want to force ourselves.
We are two German guys. Can we come to your place?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't know.
But I
Maybe
think-
you live in a big mansion or something.
Yeah, but it's
With dogs.
I think for everyone out there who's trying to make new connections, just write people and try to make the connection. It's not going to come to you automatically, and it's important. Just, I mean, it was just a stupid idea in the beginning. In the beginning of the year, when we thought, who can we get on the podcast? And it was like, Toon, yeah, but he doesn't speak German, and he probably won't do it. And
Right.
then he did it, and he spoke no German.
Yeah.
But
So you're right.
We
on that
spoke,
one.
we learned English in the meantime, and then we came here. No, but I think it's a good thing. So if you guys, if you were 2 friends or 3 friends or whatever, trying to make something out of your life, go visit some people in other countries. That's the coolest thing you can do.
Yeah.
And just visit them, talk to them, record it or not. You don't have to record it. It's no obligation. It's just, you can do, but you don't have to. But
I like that.
It was a cool trip, and
Yeah.
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, and see you soon. See you guys soon.